All right, welcome back to Newshub, and we have a discussion. We're going to continue our Road to 2023 talk, and it's something that continues to intrigue and engage us, and our role as the media is to inform you and give you all the required information as you prepare for next year's general election. And our first stop will be with the campaigns which happen from next week. We have Jeff Ojinika, who is a former member of the House of Representatives, who's joined the conversation this morning. Great to have you join us this morning, Mr. Ojinika.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you.
Excellent. And I'm sure that the political parties are dotting their I's and crossing their T's ahead of the campaign which begins. A rather long campaign is our first major test of the Electoral Act with this amendment with respect to how campaigns will happen. But besides the long period of time we have compared to previous election cycles, what are your thoughts? There's this debate whether or not we'll have issues-driven campaign, or we'll stick to what we've always known to do best, where we focus more on the political actors. What are your thoughts? Do you think the parties are going to sway first and foremost towards the issues rather than just stick with the issues that have just major concern to them, their candidates, and the things that affect them?
Yeah, I think there'll be enough time this time for campaigns. It has never been this long before. And as a result of that, a lot of issues definitely will be on the front burner. And this election will be like never before. Never before have we been so challenged as a nation the way we have been challenged, you know, in terms of security. We have a lot of security challenges that this time it will not just be a matter of coming to say, I will solve the security problem, I will do this. People will want to see whether you have all it takes to do that. People will like to know the manner and where the steps that you will take to achieve that. And in terms of the economy is at the lowest ebb. People also want to know how we can come out of the present economic situation we find ourselves. And then also in terms of the unity of the country. The country has so much been divided, so fractionalized. How do we evolve a leadership that will be all-inclusive, not coming with a formula of 85% and 5%? When we want to have a new leadership that will more or less take every Nigerian as a Nigerian, irrespective of where you come from. So there will be a lot of issues definitely on the front burner that we'll need to discuss. And these issues are quite numerous, and they are really confronting us. So I think the campaign will more or less be an issue-based campaign. We're looking forward to an issue-based campaign where we'll have enough time now. Candidates will have enough time to get to people door to door, house to house, hamlet to hamlet, village to village, community to community, LGA by LGA, federal constituency by federal constituency, senatorial districts, and state by state. So we hope that there'll be a jolly good. And then if people, there are certain things that people call that issue-based campaign. If you have a credibility deficit, people will expose you. Definitely, the days when you have criminals entering into government, you know, will be a thing of the past. If you have a credibility deficit, if you have issues, all those issues will be beyond the front burner. People will discuss all those issues. We don't hope that somebody will come up this time and then pocket the country in terms of, if there are companies that are doing a lot of businesses that are, you know, draining the economy of this country, people want to know who has interest there, and then if you do, and then making sure that possibly when people come out, there will be conflict of interest. So we're heading towards issue-based campaign, yeah.
You know, I had this argument with a colleague, and I said, look, in as much as everyone is looking forward to issue-based campaigns come 28th of September into 2023, when the general elections will hold, it would be almost impossible to have political parties not going after each other's personalities and bringing themselves into the mud in the bid to ensure that they sell themselves to the electorates. How do we separate personality? Is it ever possible to separate, campaigns and say it should only be issue-based, where political party actors would not dig into the past and present of those who are vying for political positions to put them to question where the electorates are concerned?
Yeah, I have already addressed it. If you have a credibility deficit, if you are somebody who is corrupt, if you are somebody who is inefficient, if you are somebody who is not sound enough in terms of medical alertness and all those issues will be interrogated. We have seen that before the health status of a candidate may not make a lot of meaning. But after the previous experiences we have had with two previous presidents, it has become an issue that is very important. Like we had a situation where the country was forced into doctrine of necessity. We have also forced a situation where we have a cabal running the government as a result of the occupant of the office not being very active. And I don't think anybody can take us back to that kind of situation. So we want to assess the mental state of all the people who are coming out as president. It will be a very big issue. So it is not something that this time around you say is personal, somebody can always be sick and all the rest of that. I think the country has gone beyond that, because those issues were one of the issues that try to put us back or put us in the current situation where we are now. So, and if you are somebody who has been in office and you have lived virtually on the resources of the people, you said those things will not be issue. Or you are somebody who has stupendous wealth and you can't account for your health, for your wealth, you say those things are not issue. They are very serious issues. So it will be difficult to really differentiate between personal issues and the line of demarcation sometimes may be blurry. If somebody has a character deficit and a credibility deficit, it's not something that you can gloss over. You can't gloss over it. It must be discussed. It must be interrogated. Everything about the personal life of everybody who wants to be in public office must be clearly known. If you went to school, people would like to know which kind of student were you, who were your schoolmates, who were everything about you. That's the way it's in other climes. People will need to know everything about you, whether you are, if it is something like the president. It's a position that you need to be mentally stable to take a lot of decisions. So those decisions will be decisions that you will take, and people would like to know what kind of character do you have. Are you the type that can be mentally stable to be able to be in the position to take all those decisions? So, and definitely, sometimes in football they say there's no way you can play football without touching somebody's feet. As the case may be, sometimes it's not that too easy. But there will always be control there. I think the umpire will be there to be checking to see whether anytime you get to, you go out of reach, they will be able to raise either a yellow or a red flag, so that you'll be able to know whether to stop or whether to halt, as the case may be. But everything about the candidates must be interrogated, and we need them, honestly.
Talking about bumpy, about football, I remember back in the days where the Super Eagles used to play their games on very bumpy pitches, National Stadium. But it didn't stop them from winning the games. I mean, they would trash their opponents on the bumpy pitches, and then thankfully we then had great pitches to play on. But one of the hurdles, or should I say the bumps for our political exercise, I'm sure you probably will understand, is with identity politics. Religion as well as ethnicity have oftentimes been the bane of the country's politics, especially during the campaign periods and even the choice of candidates. Even though I know you sound very optimistic that this will be a different cycle in how the electorate will approach the process, what have you seen to register in your mind that we've gone past this way of deciding what happens at the ballot?
Well, from the way I see this campaign going to be, it may not really be these are regional campaign or campaign based on religion or campaign based. There will be basically a campaign based on issues. The economy is so bad, it's affecting virtually everybody, and people will want somebody who will come to address the issue of the economy and who will be in the best position to do that. From what you see happening now, especially with the youths of the country coming up in all over the nooks and crannies of the country, the group that calls themselves the obedient family, you see them moving irrespective of religion, tribe, and their major intention is that they want to take over their country, and they have someone who they say they're obedient to, that can also be obedient to them, that can also help to solve the problem of this country. So people from all backgrounds, all religion, the only thing that has united them is good governance. And I think if the country goes ahead in that respect, I think our politics would have been a lot better. But I would like to say, building up to campaign, I think campaign is not necessarily the major thing that will be in the road to 2023. One of the things that I feel that is very important is the umpire, the Independent National Electoral Commission, doing their job very well. And then also for Nigerians, the citizens, to be abreast of what is happening so that we can have a very credible election. Because even if after all the campaigns, after everything, and Nigerians don't feel that the election was free and fair, it may not make much meaning. The most important thing is to see that the perception that at the end of the day that this process is credible. Once you see that the process is credible and anybody emerges as a result of it, no matter whether the campaign was rough or how it is, I think everybody will go to accept it. So it is important that we follow the procedure step by step, done by the Independent National Electoral Commission, to see that they are doing their job. I will expect Nigerians as of now, at this stage now, everybody should go to the 176,000 polling booths in the country, either where they registered, where the new people registered, and find out what has happened in those polling units. Because those polling units are the center, that's where election will be. Election will not be done at any other level other than the 176,000 polling units in the country. Okay. They are the units where the votes both are the uploading and everything. So, and the process of making sure that you have a credible election is having a credible voters register. Okay. So let all Nigerians be interested. Let everybody go to their booths. There are 176,000 in the 774 local governments in Nigeria. Go and check your own. Go and find out. By now, INEC, by virtue of the electoral regulation or the guidelines, should have published the list of the people, provisional list of the people that got registered during this last continuous voters registration. They should go and look at it so as to know whether the type of magic that happened in my state, in Omuma, precisely happened in their various booths. So that at the end of time, the most important thing for me for this election is to see that let it be credible. It's not even the campaign that matters. Okay. Whether they campaign or they don't campaign, I think everything is on the front view. People, any of the candidates you Google now, you can have every background information about them. But let it be that this process is credible. Let it be that at the end of time, anybody that wins or any other person that loses will know that he lost through a fair and free and fair process. And that's, for me, the most important thing for our road to 2023. And the citizens have to be up and doing. We have to make sure that everything that INEC promises us, that they do it. Because if we relax, they may not do it. Because the chairman of INEC, a gentleman, a perfect gentleman, the commissioners, the rest. But what of the other staff that they have inherited from previous FEDECO, and NEC, INEC, and all the rest of them. So many of them are still in the system. So many of them are, some people that are in the system are there, corrupt, and they want to see any way to undermine the same system that they are part of as a result of corruption. So for those people, we have to make sure that we check them. And the only thing we expect of the chairman is that if they find any person culpable, any person that has been involved in electoral fraud, such people should be arraigned and tried.
Okay.
And Nigerians should know that those people have.
All right, thank you very much. I mean, you've jumped in to talk about the electorate and the umpire, which is very fantastic. We will still dwell more on that before we end this segment, but let me take us back to the things to be talked about even before that process takes place in 2023. But the topic still surrounds issue-based campaign. And you mentioned, for instance, I asked you with regards to why some people would rather attack personalities. You've clarified your stand on that one. You also have mentioned the issue on concerning economy. What are those other issues that you're looking forward to political parties informing and really educating, enlightening, and presenting plans to the electorates as to what they want to do, they intend to do come 2023, aside the other two that you mentioned earlier?
Yes, one of the issues that are on the front burner is the issue of the structure of the country. Everybody has been worried that the way the country is so structured is in such a way that more than or less than 10% of the people are the people benefiting from the resources of the country. And a greater number of Nigerians are out there unemployed. How do we reduce the structure of governance in such a way that a greater number of our people out there can be accommodated in terms of the economy of the country? Not a situation where only very few people have access to the national treasury. And then also that the structure of the governance is every day it keeps getting bulkier and bulkier and bulkier and bulkier. People are looking at a situation where is it possible that we reduce make the issues of the parliament maybe part-time, or reduce the number, or in any way so that the cost of governance can be so reduced so that we can save enough money to handle our infrastructure, because we have a lot of infrastructural deficit. In terms of our security architecture, a lot of people are advocating, you can see now that before now, if you talk of state police, the people from the north never any reason. But with the level of insurgency and banditry in the north now, everybody has come to terms with the fact that there's need to now liberalize the police in such a way that the state, if you have a state police, they can have access to arms. If you have a local government police, they can have access to arms. The only thing that has been stopping them all this while is that the arms procurement has not been liberalized in such a way that if you have your state police, they don't have access to arms. We will call them vigilante, we'll give them sticks, and is it what they will go to face armed robbers? So it has now dawned on everybody that there is a great need to restructure our architecture. Over the years, a lot of people have been clamoring for issue of resource control. So many people have never seen reason with it. But I think as time also goes on, the same way people who have come to terms with the issue of state police, they will come to terms with the fact that there is no part of this country, the 774 local governments in this country, there's no part of this country that is not endowed. The only thing is that people have been so indolent, they are not necessary to go and look back or look down to the resources around them and see how they can harness them. The only thing is that everybody is after the short-term one, which is oil now, that everybody feels is the ultimate thing. By the time that people also come to terms with the fact that there is no part of this country, there's no state, there's no local government, there's no hamlet that God has not endowed. By the time we look down, people will now come to say, let everybody try to see how they can manage and harness their resources, within their enclave and contribute. Time will come when people, there'll be a national consensus on it. But the way things are now, people don't know. Somebody can be living very close to a very big rock, and he will be thinking that the person that has oil there is richer than him, not knowing that the rock beside his house, if you quantify it in terms of monetary terms, that it is a lot bigger resource than the oil that the other man has in his backyard. So it is important that all these issues, keep coming up. The issue of resource control, a lot of issues needs to come up, and that in terms of our federation, how we will restructure, how we will move it forward, and all the rest of them. And we would like to know, what are all these candidates, what are their views on all these issues?
Like we observed as we began the show, the Electoral Act provides us a lot of time now for us to really x-ray and examine what they have for us. You know, something that was very hotly debated, I remember, as the Electoral Act was being amended, was the ceiling for campaign expenditure of presidency. 5 billion naira not to be exceeded for governorship, all the way down to members of the House of Representatives. And I also remember, INEC warning candidates not to begin the campaigns in January, but I guess a matter of conjecture, to understand what exactly is going on, with many candidates making pronouncements even before the campaigns have begun, yet INEC not being able to do anything about it. What would you say? Is it possible when the campaigns begin, all those spending ceilings will be monitored by INEC? Do they have the teeth to bite and ensure that the provisions of the Act are adhered to by the candidates with campaign spendings?
Well, I think they will monitor them, but the inflation now in the country, the inflation rate as of this month came up to about 20.3, the highest in the last 17 years. So the inflation rate will make all those figures they were really putting up, they will really make a mess of them. Before now, in this country, we knew at a time when with 3,000 naira you can get a ticket for Aero from Abuja to Lagos. There was a time it was also at 11,000. But right now, the tickets is about 100 and something thousand. Sometimes it can get up as much as 150. In such a way that to and fro, for you to go to anywhere now, to and fro, you will be thinking of 150,000, 300,000. So it will make all those figures really very, very unnecessary, in the sense that the inflation, the fluctuation in our exchange rate, and all the rest of them make mess of all those figures that, in fact, I doubt whether there will be any need to still continue to have those figures, provided in our Electoral Act, or maybe they will keep reviewing it. I think the best bet for me should have been for them to allow the INEC to adjust all those figures with respect to how much somebody can spend, in terms of knowing fully well the expenditures that are very necessary that somebody must incur during the electoral process. But going to the law, the Electoral Act, and fixing those figures, and then coming out to see what the inflation had made mess of our currency, then they become very, very unnecessary. The only thing is that, as of now, people should try to dissuade people from vote buying, issues of trying to induce voters with money, or induce voters with goods and services, as the case may be. But you can only try to reduce it to what extent you can. But I don't think the campaign fund is the major problem that we have in this. It's one of the problems, but it's not the major problem. The major issue is to avoid vote buying. That's the major issue that I see that it will confront us in this election. How do you avoid it? Not necessarily the much you spend in your campaigns. Right now, it is before people can travel easily by road in Nigeria. This campaign now, you now have to rely on air travel, and you know air travel is very expensive. So these are the issues that you have to take into consideration in those figures. And then the hotel expenditure is also increasing, in the sense that if you go, they will tell you that the cost of maintenance, the cost of servicing their generators, and cost of gas has increased so much. So all these things add to the whole total budgetary and expenditure that you incur during the election.
All right, Honorable Ojenika, let me ask the question that so many Nigerians are also really want an answer to. And I'd like for you to first and foremost answer it as a citizen before you do as a politician. What's your view on the security situation in the country, and how do you think it may affect elections come 2023?
I didn't really get you very well.
All right, I said I would like for you to answer the question first as an electorate and maybe then as a politician. What's your view of the security situation in the country at this moment, and what impact do you think it may have on the 2023 general elections?
If there's the greatest threat for this 2023 election is the security situation in the country. And I happen to come from an area that is highly challenged. The three local governments in my federal constituency of Oru East, Oso, and Olo are so highly challenged in terms of campaigns that people will keep wondering. The question at the lips of everyone is from 28, how are people really going to move around for this campaign? How are you really going to campaign? Is it going to be an electronic campaign or something that you run only through the media? Or how are you really going to do it? Because the movement of goods and services or movement of people are not that too... And to worsen it, the response of the government in trying to see how they can handle such a situation, is not as much as people will expect. There should have been very serious engagements of all the groups, either people doing agitation or people who are involved in. There should have been some form of trying to reach out to see how all those issues can be resolved. But rather, I would like to digress a little bit, because you mentioned this issue of security. In my place, just last Saturday, I'd like to draw it to the world attention. The Ebubago, the state security apparatus of the governor of Imo State, in conjunction with the military, invaded my community of Suitokwa and raised down and destroyed the market, Ekututu International Market, the only place that people derive their living from within and outside the local government. So to the amazement and to the disdain of everybody, because marketplaces are not places that they are one of the places excluded from attack in the guise of any war. Schools, churches, hospitals, and markets are completely excluded from places of attack. So my people are in shock. Everybody is in shock as to how the state government, the state Ebubago, and more or less the military, because they came with 3 helicopter jets, and they bombed and killed some people in the market, bombed all the goods and services of people in the market. So these are things that the approach of the government in terms of this security has not in any way helped matters. And somebody will ask, how will going to burn down a whole market? How will raising down a whole market equal to the international market, how will it advance the security situation in the place? If you ask questions, you cannot get answers. And nobody, the governor, the army, the Ebubago people who are on scene, you can only see them active. Nobody has come out to say exactly what happened. How can you raise down a whole market?
We're going to have to leave it at that.
So these are the things that...
we're going to have to leave it at that. Always a pleasure speaking with you. Several questions, and you know, like the saying goes, the answers are blowing in the wind. But thank you very much, and we hope we can touch base with you again and compare and contrast notes and see whether improvements have happened in all of the areas you've highlighted once the campaigns begin. Jeff Ojinika, former member of the House of Representatives, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go on a quick break. When we come back, it's something you hardly hear us talk about, but we're going to talk about today about care for the elderly. It's a branch of medicine, if I recollect. Geriatrics is what it's called. And we're great to hear what our next resource person has to say about it. Please stay with us on Newshub.